everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. I'm here with Krusch, which to me would be Michael.
Michael's fine.
And I'll mess it up, but I did try my best to sound a little
It sounds great.
So, Michael owns Tegeler, and if you've followed any of our videos, you know that we've done some good stuff with Michael. You came over and we did a live stream, which was a lot of fun. But of course, I'm sure many of you know the Crème, which is a little bit of a world beater. It's I'm sorry to oversimplify it, but it's essentially an SSL-style bus compressor with a Pultec-style EQ, which strangely enough is my preferred chain. So, strangely enough. So when you first told me about it, I was thinking, well, that's cool. I can do a direct comparison, and I did. And there will be a link to that video going around, and it's pretty phenomenal, pretty darn phenomenal. So we're going to talk about that, but most importantly, we're here at Tegeler, so we're here where you build them, and we can see a bit about the process and find out a little bit about it.
Yeah, let me show you.
Okay. So where is this? This is this where you build it all?
That's the main workshop.
Great.
Everything will be assembled here, and then it will be calibrated, tested, and also packed.
And if I haven't said already, we're in Berlin.
Yeah.
I just realized.
Yeah. So it's not China, it's Berlin.
No, it's not China, it's Berlin.
Yeah.
It's built in Germany.
Yeah, so you can see some workplaces. That's, for example, is one of the EQs, and it's missing the front panel, but the power supply and also the main board is already assembled. And over the years, it doesn't look like handmade anymore, but because over the years we perfectionized everything, so we put everything in the right place to make it really easy to produce it. My first units looked a little bit different with more wires.
More point-to-point wiring, yeah.
Yeah, and but so over the years we perfectionized everything. Since you know we are Germans, and that's
what you do.
When it's assembled, we don't do one at a time. We do a whole batch,
right? And
then we put it in that shelf, and then it's waiting for to be calibrated and for tested.
So, well, a couple of questions. So, is everybody building the same one at the same time, or are you building it to order? How do you do it? What's your sort of process?
Not at the same time. And we have one guy. He's sitting in the back. He's doing mainly all that wires.
Yep.
And soldering like that, and also when there's a prototype to solder, then he's doing that.
Right.
They're both guys here mainly calibrate, so they have speakers, they have a converter to measure everything, and also you hear every day the same song from that room multiple times because we test everything with audio, and we have to use the same music because. You have to get familiar how it sounds. So it's not only measuring, but also when you turn the knobs, you know how it should sound. And so you discover easily when there's something wrong with it, because you know that song, and sometimes it's a little bit annoying to hear it over and over again.
Sure, I imagine.
And even if sometimes when I play it at home or whatever, then I instantly thinking of here.
Yeah. What songs do you use?
We have one from SOS Band, because it's really great produced and has some dynamic in it. So you cannot use any modern song, because when you want to test the compressor and it's already
slammed,
then you cannot test the compressor. So 80s music is good for that, and we have that. Maybe you can play it later.
If you can stand hearing it again.
I'm fine.
So at the moment you've got all these different things being built. So what's going on in this station here? What are they doing here?
That's we developed some digital stuff. That's the reverb unit.
Okay.
And as you can see, can I come closer? That's the main board. You see the tubes and the transformers. That's the analog path, input transformers, input tubes, output transformers. And in between there are the converters and the chip that is calculating the algorithmic reverb. And also you can see the motorized pods here.
I know, it's crazy.
And
Michael gave us a demonstration the other day. of how all this works, and it's pretty fantastic.
And so what this guy is doing, he uploads the firmware onto the board, and then the unit is doing some test runs and on its own and calibrates it on its own, and he's checking if everything is okay, and then
This is great. So is this the particular product? This unit is number 3269.
Let's see.
The reason why I ask is because there's a post-it note on the side there.
Yeah, because we have to put the serial number on it, and that's.
Ah, I see. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and that's why they labeled it so it fits together, everything.
Great.
And yeah.
That's very, very cool.
And what we also have is every step has to sign what he's doing, so that we can later see who has done something, who has doing the testing, and also cleaning, for example, what you push down. It was to remove all handprints on it and before it's packed. And
great. And then, so what are these tubes?
This is JJ Electronics. It's I think a Slovakian company, and they are using the same building and machines from Tesla, and they are good quality, and they are consistent in their quality.
Great.
And I really like them, and we are always using tubes that are available, so no fancy eBay stock from 40 years ago.
Sure.
So we use something that is around, that you can buy new, and also hopefully in 40 years.
Right. So you're not using the famous Neumann U47 tube that wasn't even being made when they used it.
Yeah. So then you have really problems to find something, and since we select tubes, you need a lot more when you use. So then you have to buy more, and even if with that Neumann tube, I think the ones that are available on eBay that has been gone through so many hands already, and everyone was selecting and putting the rest on eBay, and then the next one is buying it. So I think the one you can buy for a lot of money is still crap. So it's not something worth the money. So
crazy.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So this is the soldering here.
Yeah,
I can see.
And as you can see, for example, that's the controller for the display.
Yep.
And that's something you cannot do on your own with some soldering iron. So that we get from a company that is around two corners.
Yeah.
We have chosen a local company because it's easier to communicate, and it's really thing to. I can go over and explain something and say, okay, this and this, or please, we have a prototype. Please put some chips on it, or for example, we first put the digital parts on it, see if it runs on a prototype, and if it runs, then we go over and say, okay, now assemble the rest, and so it makes it really easy to when you have someone local to doing that.
And they're in the same time zone as you, so you can communicate. Yeah.
And we speak the same language.
Music.
And here he's building some prototypes, power supplies, and
so these are prototypes they're making.
Yeah, we that's a test run for a new product, and that's the power supply for that.
Can you tell us a new product?
When the camera is off, then I will tell.
Okay. Hey, so the first thing we noticed, David pointed it out, who's holding the camera, and goes, "What's this for?"
That's for security. If someone touches high voltage, then you can. It's called Notaus. It's emergency off.
Okay.
So you press this, and then the power is off.
Okay. We thought maybe it was like, we're finished! We finished, turn the power off.
You can use it for that too.
So obviously this is all parts here.
Yeah, for example, we have, that's for the Schwerkraftmaschine. That's the front panel already mounted.
Right.
You can see all the cabling. And that's the display controller, and it will be mounted to the main housing, and just the cables will be plugged in. You can see the front.
So for the Schwerkraftmaschine, can you? We talked about it at Hansa, and you gave us things, but can you give us a brief overview, because it's pretty amazing what this does.
It's a very new compressor, and we had the idea to replace the sidechain electronic with a processor, so that we are able to emulate different compression behaviors. And during that process, we also discovered, okay, we already control every part of that compressor. Why not use also motorized pods and remote controlling it? So we added motorized pods and also wrote a plugin. And now it's a compressor that you can remote control from your software.
And it's, what is it, 9 different styles, I think it was?
It is 11.
11, even more.
Yeah, so you have 11 different modes, and you can switch totally how the compressor reacts and the character of the compressor. So actually you get 11 different compressors with the Schwerkraftmaschine.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. We had a demonstration of it.
And that remote control was even just a byproduct in the whole process, because the idea was to have that different modes. And
sure. Yeah. Amazing. Are these assembled?
These are assembled. For example, you can see that's the Crème.
Yep.
Actually, Crème is a French name.
Yep.
That made it to German.
Yep.
And everyone says cream, it's fine, but actually it's French.
For crème.
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 Yep.
Maybe that's the pronunciation for Germans. Maybe the French will say it differently.
Yeah.
But who cares?
It's cream.
Yeah, and that's our most selling product.
It's amazing. Yeah,
and because it has a great value for the money, so you get an EQ and a compressor for money. You can normally buy a compressor for.
Yes, absolutely, and it's obviously a favorite of mine. And I think ultimately, if you're only going to have one piece of analog in your chain, having your bus compressor and EQ be that makes perfect sense. So I think this is a good moment to talk about how you do this. So what Michael does is they build these and then you sell them directly. Now you can obviously get them from Thomann and other places as well at the same price. So that's great of Thomann. But the beauty is that you can try before you buy. And that's a bold thing to do, but I think I think it pays off for you.
It pays off, and actually, when I have the same experience, I'm also making music, and I'm also on the other side. So when I want to buy something, I have to test it in my studio. I have to test it with my music. I have to test it with my in my acoustics. And it only makes sense when you have it in your studio. Sure. Then you can say, okay, I need it, or I have no use for it. And
is your studio here? Is your studio here?
No, at home.
At home, okay.
But we have a showroom here. So,
check that out?
You can do it.
Let's do that. Yeah. Let's check it out.
We can make a short stop here.
Yep, let's make a short stop.
And actually, it looks way too clean. So that's the developer's office.
Right.
And maybe that's because we work a lot with the software now, and so with software you don't have to solder so much.
Sure.
But I can show you how something starts. This, for example, was a start. We took something existing. That is the board from the Crème, an old board, and also the power supply. But we just took the input and the output stage and to have some housing and something to mount the controls to. And here you see a breadboard with the idea. So I came up with an idea and said, okay, I need this, and then one of my guys made this breadboard with the circuit. Then I can take it with me in the studio and listen to it. And then we can decide, is my idea crap or is it working? And or do we have to do something? And so when this is done, then and when I have proof, okay, it's not perfect, but it goes in the right direction, then we can make a first prototype of it.
Fantastic. I love seeing it like this, and the breadboard.
Yeah, that's how it starts, and then later we come up with some. I can show you this. I think we have some laying around there. So we make a prototype board and with everything on, and then we discover what we made wrong on that prototype board and make it working, and then again testing, listen to it, measuring it, making the next run. Then there will always be a mistake on it, but we have to repeat this until it's perfect, and then we can say, okay, we now produce it in 100 batches.
Great.
And yeah, I want it perfect at the first run, but it never happens. So you always have some small issues, but you have to figure it out. It's easy to fix it on one board, but when you have hundreds of boards, then it must be perfect before.
I think you trust it more when there's always like one or two little mistakes. It means, I don't know, I think that's a good omen.
So, and that one is the marketing and sales office. And
they have the air conditioning. It's nice and cool in here. You have to keep them happy.
Yeah. And everything is shipped from here. So
right. Oh, I must say one thing for those people that haven't seen Tegeler products is that the cases, the boxes they come in are beautiful. I remember when my Crème first arrived, I was like, this is amazing. It becomes a piece of furniture.
Of course. It's part of the wife acceptance factor.
Yeah.
To have this box because they love it.
You see care at every single. It instills confidence in you if everything feels like it's made to the highest level.
And you can say, "Oh, honey, I bought you some nice box."
My wife is used to equipment arriving.
That's my office, and also Martin is moved here because the developer office was too. There are already 3 people in there, and it's full, so he had to move here. And so he's doing, for example, the plugins to remote control. That's why he has 4 monitors, 2 for the Mac and 2 for the PC.
I want 4 monitors. Eric, let's get 4 monitors, Eric. Do it. This is fantastic. This is your workstation.
That's my workstation. And you don't see so many technical stuff here because I started to solder, to build something and but at the end, I ended up doing accounting stuff and boss stuff. But someone has to do it. And
boss stuff.
Yeah.
Admin.
Like paying money for people and all.
I understand. Trust me.
Yeah.
So this is where you test everything, and where you show off things.
Yeah.
And you use SonarWorks.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm really a fan of Latvia.
Yeah.
And I came to Erika Sund and became friends with them.
Good. I'm friends with them too. I like them.
And from
Lee Hazelwood.
From there, I because I was in Riga so often, then I discovered all the other manufacturers like SonarWorks, Game Changer Audio, and also Blue, the developer of Blue microphones, is living in Riga. And
that's amazing.
And it's a great piece of software because it's really, even if you have a treated room, it helps you to improve the room even then a little bit, and also because we don't have a treated room here because it's an office.
Sure.
So it's not a real studio, and we use it to make it more linear sounding. And also our friends from Adam gave us this really massive speakers, and I have them in my own studio. I really like them.
Which is another Berlin company.
Yeah. The good thing is we have so many manufacturers here in Berlin, and we are in a way friends, colleagues. So it's not competition, and even. If there's a company doing the same thing, for example, Elysia, when I met them at some exhibitions, we talk to each other. It's not that we hate each other for doing the same business. We do it because we like it. Yeah. And they do the same. Yeah, and they do the same, and so we are colleagues. We talk on the same level, and it's always fun to meet and talk. And
that's amazing.
Okay, this is the Schwerkraftmaschine. We have it now running, And as you can see, that's the mode knob. That's the most important thing. With that knob, you can go through all the different emulations or different modes, and the compressor totally changes its character.
So I suppose my question is like, is this? Oh yeah, look at that. That's absolutely fantastic.
I go to the 12th position.
Oh, I didn't know it was a 12th position, but yeah, so it just goes to mode.
Yeah, that's not the mode, but you can see the IP address and the MAC address of the compressor, so it's not a mode, but...
That's amazing.
Yeah, so as the IP address says, it's connected by Ethernet cable.
Right.
You can see here our Ethernet switch to connect everything. That makes it really easy because with USB you are bound to 5 meters in length, and if you have the compressor on your rack behind you and the machine room, the computers in the machine room, so it's really easy to connect that without problems. You don't need anything in between.
Right.
Yeah, as you can see here, that's the plugin for the Schwerkraftmaschine. It's available on every platform for Windows and Mac, and also AAX audio units and VST. And it's remote controlling the hardware. You already tried it, so you can change something here, and the hardware will follow that.
That's great.
The main use is to store your setting in your song. So when you open the song again, then the hardware will turn to exactly the same settings as before.
Can you use it to write automation as well?
Yeah, it's a plugin. You can use the automation like in any plugin.
Great.
And you can, for example, have different settings for chorus and verse. And of course, when you change the mode in between the song, that's...
There'll be a delay, like a perceptible...
No, not a delay, but of course it switches and it's not very useful. But if you want to have, for example, different threshold settings or different attack and release setting for in between the song, and then of course that's possible. Just because it also works the other way around. You turn it here. You just do it like fader writing on your desk. Just use it to record your parameter settings, and don't be worried about that.
Well, that's huge though, because that means you can go into write, and you can do it tactile. You can use it tactilely and write the information using this.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. Don't be worried that it takes some time to rotate. Even if you go from 0 to 10, it will go immediately, but just the pot will take some time to change. Right. Because it's not, the pot actually is not regulating that parameter, but it's done on the main board electronically.
That's great.
So the front panel is also some kind of remote control for the main board.
But I love that idea. I'll reiterate, that's huge, because if you've got a vocal and you have to adjust the threshold, and you can set it for different sections of the song, and you can write it in real time. Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, it's great.
And also, for example, with the reverb on top of that, we have some guys doing Foley work for movies. And then, when, for example, someone goes from the stairway to the room, they just adjust the room size a little bit, and that's also by hand while watching the movie. So it's really easy. It's not stepping through different parameters, and so it's. I really like the idea to have it tactile. To just you have a knob, you turn it, and that's it. We tried to put everything in that 8 knobs you have, and but there are so many functions in it. For example, you mentioned the sidechain filter.
Yes.
You have a low cut filter on this side from 0 to 300 Hertz, and also a tilt EQ on the other side. And even with that, you can change the character of the compressor really dramatically. For example, in this direction, it mainly reacts on the bass, on the full spectrum, and also on the hi-hat. So just by having a drum loop and just by changing that knob, it it changes the character of the compression.
That's great. But this is infinitely variable. So it's not just 0, 20, 40, 60. It's everywhere stepped. But not steps, sorry.
No,
everywhere,
not steps,
everywhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And you can also automate this if you like. So if you want to have pumping on one part and not pumping on another part, then...
When you were demonstrating this before, because we haven't even got into all the modes yet, but what I loved about this, and I thought to myself, was if you only had one piece of hardware, this could be pretty darn amazing, because you can use it on your mix bus, but you can also go in there because, of course, all of these different modes, like the vocal leveler, and print this through the vocal leveler and just use it. But what Michael was saying is, like, you can have many instances of the plugin. So you create a template for your mix, and you've got all of those different instances. So it's like having the ability to run audio through a console, because you can process individually. Yeah, I love that.
And since you can use the plugin multiple times, you just freeze one track. So you print your processing on it. And by freezing, you also store the settings of the plugin, then use it, the next plugin on the next channel. And if you have to go back and unfreeze it, you still have your parameters from how you set it there.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the individual modes.
Yeah, we came up with 11 different modes, and also the first one is multiband complex. Of course, it's not a real multiband, because it's only one audio path, no filters in the audio path, but the sidechain, which is digital, is split into 3 different channels, 3 different frequency ranges, and the knee of the compressor and also the timing is different on every channel. And so the compressor reacts on low frequency more gently and more slower when on high frequencies. So it's not so easy to get the compressor to distort low frequencies, especially when you have really fast settings. Typically, if the compressor is really fast, it cuts into the waveform of a low frequency. And that gives some ugly distortion.
So essentially you have 3 different bands, but each one has different attack and release times.
And with attack and release, you change them relatively to each other. So if you have a faster attack, of course, everything gets faster, but the high frequency channel is even faster than the low frequency channel. And you can balance the 3 channels by using the sidechain filter, the tilt EQ. So here also you emphasize the high frequency channel a little bit, and also the low frequency channel. So you can adjust, not separately the timing, but you can still adjust it. So we try to make everything really easy to use. So I'm not a big fan of having every parameter to change, because it gives you thousands of opportunities, but actually you don't want the opportunities. You want someone who already thought for you what is good, what is working, and you just use it.
I mean, I've talked about this many times, about the experience of going to a music store for the first time to buy my first compressor. And I remember the Alesis ones had literally like 20 knobs on the front on a single U, like these little. And I didn't know what anything was. And then I went to my first proper studio, and they had like an 1176, and I'm like, this big unit with like 4 knobs. I'm like, why don't I have that?
Yeah, even that is already complicated. Even that was think of an LA2A. You just set gain reduction and the volume. That's it. And it's so easy, and you cannot make anything wrong.
Exactly. Yeah,
and,
I agree.
Yeah, and that's, for me, the LA2A is some kind of that design goal that from the surface. One knob that makes it running. So
great. Yeah. Okay, so that's mode 1.
Yeah. Then the next one is diode pressor. It's modeled after that Neve 33609 diode compressor. And we have set the limit and the compression to a distance of 6 dB. So you first go into the compression, and then if you go further, then the limiting sets in.
Great.
The next one is not modeled after something. It's called
This
breakthrough.
is an interesting one.
It is, and it compresses for 6 dB, and everything that goes above 6 dB, it's not compressing anymore. So you're actually not compressing the peaks in your audio signal, but more we call it the Audiowurst in German.
Sure. Yeah.
So the lower part. So at the end, you preserve your transients, you preserve all the peaks you have, but you compress the whole body of the sound more.
So that might be interesting on room mics, where you want to exaggerate the kick and snare transients, so that pa, ka, but you also want the ambience to come out.
Yeah.
So you would have like kick and snares, but the ambient sound of the room would be compressed and be more evident.
Yeah, and also when you have a crash inside that, then the crash will keep its dynamic, so it's not pumping down the whole mix.
Sure.
And it looks funny on display because the needle, if you compress really heavy, the needle will be stuck on 6 dB. It's like it's now on the 0, it will be on the 6, and only go back some times, but it's like it's pinned on the 6.
This will be fun to go through a drum kit and process individual elements in different ways and then rebuild the drum kit and see what we get.
Maybe I should come over, bring 10 of my Schwerkraftmaschine with me.
Yeah.
And we make a drum recording with
that. Let's do it.
That would be fun.
This is on camera now. He said it. It's going to happen. I like that idea. Let's try it.
Okay, then. We'll come over.
Okay, great.
Prepare the space.
It's fine. We'll book Sunset Sound and we'll do it there.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and to say this, that's why I built this that digital design chain, not to emulate something that already exists. That's also nice to have this, but to bring in some new ideas that are not done before. And also, the next one is called Stereo Transformer. It's we want to keep it short, so it messes with the stereo image of your compression. You can do this in a way with setting up MS compression and so, but it's built in and it messes with your stereo image. It makes the stereo image wider, but dynamically wider, and you can read everything on our website. So if you want to have detailed information, I made a post for every mode with explanations.
Isn't this where it takes anything in the center and treats it differently from the sides? So it compresses the center and allows the sides to breathe.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's a really good idea.
That's also,
again, that would be good on individual elements inside of a mix.
Yeah. That's also one I came up with that doesn't have any role model in something before.
Right.
Then of course we have this Varitube compressor mode, which is the mode of the
Varitube, as I call
Varitube.
As I call it.
Yeah, we called that one Varitube to avoid some issues with some other manufacturer, and. People who had this already, they asked to replace it by the Schwerkraftmaschine, and then we made an emulation of this. And but even if you say, okay, that's nice, but it's too expensive. If you want a good sounding Varitube compressor, that one is half the price, and it comes without the digital control, but it's really great on a mix bus. And okay, the next one is called Vocal Leveler. You already told about it. That's the main goal. Is this?
I think this is a huge one. Really, I mean they all are, but this one I think is pretty amazing. It's
not really compressing, or it's not doing a compressor sound. It keeps your vocals on a constant level to have it on the right level for putting it in the mix. So it's not be covered by the mix sometimes, and sometimes it sticks out. It really.
I think you described it when we were at Hansa as being like riding a fader.
Yeah, in a way.
I like that idea. And also I like it because one thing I do, which is exactly what this does, is make your vocal level consistent before hitting any compression. So that it has an even amount of compression, giving, when you're using compressors that have characteristics, have a sound, that you get an even sound, even performance the whole time.
So if you have another compressor for as an effect behind it, then it would always hit the spot, the right spot on the compressor. So when you hear something with that mode, without music, you think it's not compressed at all.
Sure.
Because you cannot hear that it's the level is constant. But when you put the music on, then you see, okay, it's always on the right level for that.
Eric, when we get back, we have to put that on our vocal, on the insert on our vocal. On the console, or be on it, That's the first thing we'll do when we get back.
Okay. It's done by some logic. We run two different sidechains, two different sidechain software with different parameters, and then there's a logic behind comparing both sidechains and deciding which one to use at that moment. And for example, for short peaks, it switches to the fast setting and switches back immediately to the slower setting, and so that's why we can do this without sounding compressed and
very smart.
Yeah. So the next one is also some emulation optical compressor. I explained it. It's that typical slower and huge sound of an light dependent resistor. And you all know the LA2A, for example, and it gives you that same feel of compression. It's slower. It's really nice on vocals or solo instruments and like E-bass or whatever, and also electric guitars. And I like it on snare drums because it gives you that punch of the
just
snare.
Slow enough attack so that it lets the transient go through.
So I really like it for that, and actually it's my favorite mode. And also for drum loops, because it's slow, but you can set it to really swing on the beat. And
how did you set that?
Like you set attack and release that it breathes in that on the beat, and it gives you more. It's not.
I thought for a second there was an automated way of doing it, right?
No, you have to do it manually. Maybe you should beat detection in it and adjust the release time for it.
There you go. There's your next update.
Okay, you have to work hard. Holiday is cancelled for the guys.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, the next one is called Drum Smasher.
I think it's quite self-explanatory, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's the all-button mode, and let me say that it's a tube compressor, so it will not replace an 1176.
Sure.
Because it will always sound tube. When you put it in a audio path, you will have the tube sound.
Sure.
And so it sounds different, but it emulates how the compressor reacts on a signal. So it's not that you can say, okay, I will sell my. It
doesn't have that fet kind of crunch sound, but that's okay.
Yeah, but it
has a.
Yeah, the part that comes from the transistor that is distorted, we cannot emulate this because, of course, there's no transistor in it.
Right.
But how it compresses, that it's something we can emulate.
But that's good. Yeah. It gives it its own individual sound.
It's not to replace every unit. It's more to have a compressor with options with different settings. And at the end, if you emulate something, you come up with something new at the end. The next one is called Classical Vermouth. It emulates the compression behavior of a Fairchild compressor, and also like how it's used on whole mixes. And for example, some people who do mastering buy it just for that. It's just because you have 11 different modes doesn't mean you have to use them all.
Sure.
So just you have the options. It's not
right.
You don't have to use it. So it's a little bit thing when you have many plugins, people think, especially when they begin, okay, I have to put everything on it.
Sure.
So I have a LA2A plugin, I have an 1176, I have a Neve channel plugin. So let's put everything on every channel, and then it sounds like a professional thing. But you don't have to.
Right, absolutely.
And the next one called Chart Analyzers, and that's modeled after a VCA compressor, like in the Crème.
4000.
Yeah, in the Crème, and it's modeled after SSL style compressor.
Right.
And the 11 one is called de-esser, and again, there's no filter in the audio path.
Right.
So it's that kind of de-esser that reacts on different frequencies, but compresses the whole signal. So it's not frequency. It not only compresses one frequency band because there's no filter. It compresses the whole thing. So it's useful on vocals to de-ess it, and you will not have any phase problem. But it's not useful to, for example, if you have a drum track and you want to change the hi-hat out of it. That will not work, but on vocals. So, and that's it in short.
Great.
Another thing
That's
to
amazing.
mention is the mix knob. You can mix between the 100% compressed signal and also the
which is
uncompressed.
fantastic, yeah. So it becomes like a parallel then. So that's one thing I've loved about the last 5 or 10 years, that plugins have made people in hardware think differently. Because hardware never had that. But plugins started having it, and then hardware manufacturers now are going, oh, that's a good idea. You can annihilate, crush the drums, and then bring it in and find that sweet spot. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, and that was one developed later. It's the people are asking. It's a stereo unit. I have controls for both channels, but I'm doing MS mastering. I want to set the mono and the side channel differently.
Right.
So obviously it's not possible with hardware, but we came up with a dual mode.
Okay.
It doubles the plug-in.
Oh wow.
The controls here are disabled, but you can have different settings for the left and the right channel. And so if you use it for MS mastering, you can set up the center differently to the side.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
Now you know.
That's really good.
And for people who want to use presets, we prepared some presets.
Okay.
Of course, it's not so useful to have presets on a compressor because every music is differently. But it's nice.
But it gives you a nice starting point.
Yeah, when you have this unit for demoing, you can go through it and see, okay, vocals, what can I use for vocals, and what can I use for that. So we made some presets to start.
Great idea.
With. Some nice features we have added. It's not important, but sometimes it's the small things that count. You can adjust the brightness of the display. We have it now on full brightness because we have sunlight, and you can turn it down with every control will turn down. So it's not, when you have it in a studio, it's not that it pierces your eye. You can change.
What's the auto gain function there?
The auto gain is also we added later. It's when you turn down the threshold and compress more, then the output will go up.
Oh, I see.
So it tries to have the same level for comparison. And you can also adjust the plug-in size here. Now it's so big for camera, but normally you will have it lower. And also you can change the VU meter.
Oh.
It comes with different ones, and so
and it changes on this too. That's great.
Yeah. So
I like that.
So you can have a different one every day. That's one I draw with my finger on an iPad.
That's the rhubarb and custard one for anybody. Anybody who knows what that kids' show was.
So for €1,000, I can make your own with your name on it.
Oh, okay. You want the Eric one? Eric. Yes. The Eric game reduction. I want to, while we're here, I want to talk to you about this.
The channel strip.
Yeah, because that seems...
Okay, so let's move over.
Yeah, let's move over. That's very exciting.
Yeah, that's our recording channel, and it's next to the Crème. It's the most sold unit.
I can imagine.
For obvious reason, because if you just work in a computer, at least do your recording through analog gear. So if you have only one channel strip and have a good recording of good quality, then you're done. And it combines a tube preamp
Yep.
Here on this you have gain and input settings, so with the gain you also change the character.
Sure.
If you have it on 0, then it's more clean sounding.
Sure.
When I say more clean, it still is a tube circuit, and on 10 it's more, it gets more character. And
simple thing I like is connection on the front.
yeah.
Just quick and easy. Plug it in.
Yeah.
Get working.
It's a high Z input for instruments. You can plug in a bass
too,
or
yeah.
a guitar. Then you have an XLR for microphone, and also microphone on the rear
as well.
And you have a line input. That was something we hadn't in the first version, but then there came requests because many people get pre-recorded tracks from clients. They record on their own.
Yeah.
And they get it for mixing, and they said, okay, I want to run it through, especially the vocals, through the channel strip. And when I'm coming from the converter, it's too hot to use the microphone input.
Sure.
And so we decided, okay, we make a second input, also with a transformer, and have a different gain structure. And so you can connect your converters and also use it with the switch for your microphone. So if you want to reamp something, then it's really easy.
Great.
You have a low-cut filter, obviously, and phase change. Then the EQ, it's the Pultec circuit from that MEQ5, that mid-range, and we expanded it.
You did, I can see.
To 24 kilohertz. Of course, you cannot hear 24 kilohertz,
Sure.
but it is so wide.
Really wide.
It really affects still the audio path. And so what I was amazed with when I first heard it, that EQ, you can even boost frequency you normally cut out. So when you boost, for example, 300 or 500 hertz, that's typically something you don't like in the recording. But sometimes, because that EQ is so wide in its boost, it still sounds good. So actually cannot make something wrong. Even if you put it on 10, it still sounds good in a way. Normally, when you boost something like that, it sounds boomy, quicky, and
right. No, I understand.
And I really like that Pultec circuit because it's so forgiving. It's so it makes everything, whatever you set in, it makes everything sound good. And so with that, you can adjust the signal to have a nice.
So you
sound.
can also make it a little bit more fine pointed, because you could say go to 300 here and 200 there.
Yeah.
So you boost that, but then you cut here,
Yeah.
allowing it to be more pointed.
Yeah.
Narrow it down. Yeah, I like that.
And for example, when you have guitars, acoustic guitar, for example, that can bring some more body in when you boost that lower frequencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Very nice.
it gives a nice warm feel. You can change the order of EQ and compressor. So it's not a discussion, EQ first or compressor first, just try it out.
It's a great idea.
And then we have two different compressors. We have a variable compressor and an optical compressor. So you can engage both at the same time. If you
Yeah, I
want.
noticed that. That's interesting.
And you just, when you want to vary tube, just put it in that. And it's also only one knob compression. You just dial in how much compression you want, and that's it. So in a recording situation, you don't have to care about the timing or whatever. It uses the auto setting that is used in the Schwerkraftmaschine.
Right.
So actually that came first.
Right.
So the Schwerkraftmaschine one is emulated after that one.
Right.
We have done that in electronic.
Sure.
And from the auto setting, you can choose, you have a fast and a slow setting.
Yeah.
You just cancel out one of that side chains. So sometimes it's useful, but I recommend really to use the auto setting because it works really fine.
Yeah, it's like a DBS 160. I always keep it on all the time.
So, and you can
165,
engage both compressors
Yeah.
and set the compression, then that's really fine.
I see. So here on your meter, you can have the preamp, so you can read the
Yeah.
gain coming in, EQ, compress. What's that last setting? Oh, an output.
Output.
Right.
Yeah, because when with that EQ, you can, for example, if you boost 1 kilohertz here and 1.5 kilohertz here, then you can really boost 20 dB, and so you have to take a little bit care about leveling, and that's why we put that meter knob there. And we made it, that has many knobs, but also we made it really simple. And especially the compression, you don't have to care about attack and release timing, and
Right.
because in a recording situation, you don't want that gear is hindering you to have the recording. You want a performance and not taking care of every tiny setting. You want something that will not, even if you set it wrong, not destroy your audio signal. And
Great.
yeah.
So tell us about the Magnetismus. I've noticed it's got a 2 on it, by the way. So is this the second one you designed?
It's the second one. The first one had less knobs, and then the sales guys were saying we need more knobs in it to sell it, because when you have a unit with just 2 knobs, it's people don't pay for that less knobs. So it was a good idea, because now you can use it also as a VCA compressor. So that's why it has a 2 in it. Actually, it's a transient shaper.
Okay.
And it's different to the well-known transient designer. The transient designer is to make the transients louder or softer.
Sure.
But we do something different. We shape the shape of we change the shape of the transients, and it's hence the name. It sounds a little bit like a tape. What a tape is doing to transients.
Sure.
And we don't claim that's a tape emulation. It's something different, but it's similar to what tape does to transients.
Well, let's try it out and play with it. I want to see what it does.
So it has 2 different sections. One is the compressor.
Yeah.
You can use it on your own, and then you have this transient shaping part. And they work together. With the compressor, you let the transients stick out more, and then shape it with that transient shaping.
Nice.
So let's try it on a drum loop. First I set the ratio to limit to compress it really hard. Timing is 4 at the moment, and I dial in a lot of compression. Sounds really hard, but it's not it. Now I do the transient shaping, and if you compare both together, now that effect is really obvious, but you can do it a little bit less. It gives you more impact in your drum loop.
Sure. I like it.
With the flux mode switch, you can change the detection window of the transients, so you have it more wider. Yeah. More transients are covered, and also more narrow. Right. It doesn't have that much impact in only the first transient, and you can adjust intensity. And you can also use it to really destroy it.
Nice.
You can also, when you listen to the hi-hats, what it does to the hi-hats.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do more gentle settings.
I like it. I like it sort of bring out the ambience and the hi-hat. Now it makes me want to put a separate kick and snare against it and use it for the ambience and the hat track. For energy.
It works really great. We also have some electronic sounding.
There you go. This is your music. This is your world.
More like mine. Yeah. hear how it emphasizes that room more, and it gives you a nice swing on that music.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And that especially when you have electronical drums or generated drums, you have more hard transient in it. Like
Sure.
that 808, for example. In the 80s, when it became famous, the drum machine, everyone was recording on tape. So actually, the 808 sound is more. It's nothing without the tape.
Right.
So that's what you used in old hip hop tracks. That is always on tape, and also that's the reason why it sounded more round, more to say. Yeah, it's not the transients were not so sticking out.
Right.
And I was actually really disappointed when I first recorded something like that, because in reality the 808 has that snare drum, for example, has this nice click at the beginning, and then you print it on tape, and then what comes out is without that nice
nice rounding off.
It's more round at the end. It sounded more pleasanting, but I was really the tape steals something.
Yeah, I agree.
But now it's an effect you want to have, and as you can hear. It can really change the character of the drums. So that's why I said it's not like a transient designer where you just emphasize the transient a little bit. You can fiddle around, you can use it to distort the music, but when you play it gently, then it can give you a little bit more impact, like on a good tape.
Fantastic.
And we also have customers using it on the mix bus. And
that'd be interesting.
It wasn't designed for that, but he said, okay, I'm have typically that alternative rock style for mastering, and it gives me nice signature sound to.
I like that. I would have thought personally speaking, I would have thought if you've got a lot of programmed music through it, I would put a sidechain in it. I'd have a way of letting the low end breathe, you know. So yeah, it's not typically where I would imagine that, but at the same time, I suppose you could also use it in parallel and bring it up underneath to increase and shape the transients would be really nice. Yeah, great. I really like it. So Superbooth 2019 is here at FEZ. Yeah. This building's got a pretty interesting past, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really old, and I was here in my youth already, so it's known for me. I was here because of the astronomy thing. I was really in astronomy in my youth, and beside electronic, and they had some exhibition about this, and you can also be like in a space station, and so.
But that was just so people know that was when it was in East Berlin, when it was in the GDR.
In the eastern part, and I was really nerdy during the time. I still am, but. It was hard during the time you weren't able to go to a shop and say, I want to have a synthesizer and a drum machine, just put it in my bag, and so it wasn't possible to have this. And the only way to have a synthesizer was to build it on your own. And also no internet. I had to go to libraries, study schematics, and no Xerox machine. You have to redraw it on your own because you're not allowed to take the books out of the library. And so it was a little bit hard time, but also was a good time to learn about this. And so I wasn't able to buy a synthesizer because I had to build one on my own. I learned about all the circuitries and all that, how to do things, and so all the basics about it. And here I am now.
When we were talking earlier, what I found very interesting was growing up in East Berlin was the fact that you didn't have the availability of, I suppose, Western bands, and you were talking about listening to the radio, having a tape paused, so when you could get a song that you heard that you loved, You could just record it. So
yeah, that's the only way. You cannot. Same with things with vinyl. You cannot go to the shop and buy the vinyl if you like to.
Right.
So you have to tape everything on a radio. And if you're not into mainstream music, and then maybe you have your special shows. Maybe most of the time at night. So you have to stay up late and they play for 1 hour some special music. And the thing is, they only play it once. So if you don't tape it at that day, it's gone forever. Right. And you don't have to. When you're growing up there behind the wall, it's not that you think, okay, in 10 years the wall will come down and I will be able to buy a thing.
Yeah.
It's something you think. If I tape it now, I will have it for my whole life.
Yeah.
If I don't tape it now, I will regret it my whole life. And so it was really a thing. I put all my money I had into buying cassettes to tape everything.
You still have those cassettes?
Not anymore. It's so convenient to have Spotify, and I also found all the old recordings on YouTube, and so.
Sure.
But it was really a thing, and I was so into music. Music was my world, and it still is. And having that taped, that made my day. When I found a song or a special version of a 12-inch of something, that really made my day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, as I told you, the B-side of that New Order song, "The Perfect Kiss." The Kiss of Death, that was only played once, and I taped it, and it was so mind-blowing to hear it, and then I was so happy that I had it.
What year was that? What year was that?
I think 85 or 86. I'm not sure, but it was really it was so unique sounding, and back then
you were like 15 years old.
Yeah, so in that age, and yeah, I was really into music, and all my classmates made fun of me because I cannot go to this party. I have to be at home taping music. Yeah, that was more important for me. And
no, I completely understand.
And also, it took a travel. I had to go to a library in the center of Berlin, and I had to travel there. It was something for the whole day to go there. After school, I went to the library, was sitting there for hours, finding the right book in the inventory, and then read it there in that reading room, and copying the schematics from the book. And so yeah, I really like the internet. I don't want to go back, but it was in a way a good time, because you go there and you discover something, and discovering some knowledge it's a really exciting thing. So when you see when you ask yourself some questions, and then you discover the answer somewhere, that is a feeling amazing.
No, I completely understand. I feel like it's a blessing to have the internet come a little later in life, because I have people now that I work with people now that are just not interested in knowledge because it's so convenient. When it's not easy to find, you search it out. I think that's just the reality of the human condition. When something's easy, you know.
Yeah, I also like that it's so easy, and it's
sure.
Everything you want to know, it's available. So.
But you've been trained, you see. You know what I'm saying? You focus. You've been trained to search for knowledge. For me, I'm the same thing. Right? I have a conversation with somebody, and I'm like, "What was that about?" And I'm like Googling it in the conversation, because I want to keep up and understand.
For me, knowledge, or that eureka moment is the most amazing thing. It's even better than an orgasm. Can I say this in your? No, it's even a better feeling, because it's so.
Yeah, I understand. Thanks ever so much. I appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to come out to Berlin and be at Super Booth, go to your headquarters. I've had an amazing week so far. We've still got another half a week to go. We got to be at Hansa for 3 days working, and there's something incredible about this city. The history is insane. Not to mention, like, it's sort of the birthplace of electronic music for so much of us, so, which of course you're part of as well.
I'm happy.
Great.